Welcome back to CfTesla. My name is Cody, and in the past we've done some pretty crazy installs, frunk and trunk and a lot of other things. But did you ever think you would actually get CarPlay inside your Tesla? Well, today I'm going to show you how. Today we are taking a look at a new product coming out by Handshell called a steering wheel screen. The purpose of this screen is to bring a bunch of information up front and center to the same location you are familiar with from normal car instrument clusters. Now I'll be honest with you, if this was just a device designed to pull information we already had just 8 inches to the right of us, I would not be very excited about this, but because it's so much more than that, well, keep watching. Before we get started, please do me a favor. These videos take a long time to make, so if you could just quickly take a second of your time and go down there and tap that like button, maybe leave me a quick comment at the end, that would help me out greatly. YouTube pays us creators based on our interaction with our audience, and of course, subscribe if you want more videos like this. So here are the areas we're going to take a look at with this product review today. So what comes in the box? How difficult was this to actually install? We'll look at what the screen actually displays. We'll take a look at it through a drive, so we'll go take it out for a drive. Then I'll talk about what it takes to get one of these and how much of a discount I can get you on it if you really wanted this and found you needed this. Before we get started, I want to take a second and thank Brian from iTesla. I found myself in a few questionable spots with this install, and I was able to message him and he was able to help me out with some of those things. So thanks, Brian, really appreciate that. If you guys haven't seen Brian's channel, head over to his channel, iTesla. I'll link it here or down below in the description, and subscribe to his channel. He's doing great things over there. So what comes in the box? It is not much. You get the screen. You get the wire harness, which just has the OBD connector to swap out. You then get a GPS for your navigation and a small camera that I didn't end up connecting yet, so I will cover that in another video. So there were no instructions in the box, but Handshell sent me them via PDF form, so I'm sure in the future that they will come with instructions. But now let's talk about the actual installation, because that's one thing a lot of people think about when looking at a project like this, and it's worth talking about. On paper, it's very simple. You have a wire you run from your Tesla's computer to your screen, and one wire from the GPS to your screen, and if you get the camera, you have that to run as well. The problem is that the OBD connector is in a very awkward spot, but more on that later. So first, I removed both of the side panels from the dash. This is done by taking a plastic pry bar and very easily popping it off. They each have 3 snaps, so this was very simple. Next, I took off the dash. This is done by using really no tools at all, unless you call your hands a tool. You just start pulling. I started on the passenger side, and once it starts, the rest just comes easy. When I went over to the driver's side, just a couple tugs and it was off. It is held by 8 snaps on the top part of the trim and 6 on the bottom, so you just got to give a little bit of pressure and then it pops right off. You also need to remember to take off this small piece of trim here on the passenger side, because this is where the wire harness will be coming through. This again is just popped off very, very easily. Next, take off the panel under the dash on the passenger side. The instructions said to take off the panel near the knees, but I wouldn't recommend that. This contains a passenger airbag as well as other stuff. I tried it and it's pretty hard. This is where Brian came in. He said to just stop being a pansy and force my hand up there. Well, okay, he didn't say pansy, but still, this was very difficult. If my hands were any larger and if I wasn't so thin, this would have been almost impossible. I literally had to go upside down like a contortionist, but at the end, I ended up getting it. What I was doing was unplugging the original OBD connector, plugging that into the one on the new wiring harness, then plugging the wiring harness back into the computer. So it went into the same spot the original OBD connector came out of. From there, I ran the wire up through the side and out. You can do this by just feeding it through with your left hand and grabbing it with your right hand. This was actually really easy. Next, you put it under the existing part of the wire harness and take it over to the wheel. From there, you grab the dash, sit in your car, put it on your lap, and follow the instructions to where to feed the actual connectors through it. It is really quite simple. You just count 20 spots over from the left side of the vent holes. I actually messed up the first time and counted from the right, and after I installed the screen, it was half covering the steering wheel, so I had to take it all apart again and do it twice, as is normal for my install videos. Welcome to CfTesla. Once you have it in place, you flip it over and install a bracket that screws into the pre-drilled holes in the screen mount itself. This whole install has 0 parts that damage the Tesla, such as tape or screwing anywhere. You could take this back off and have no evidence it was even ever there. I will just say that when I first installed it, my car kind of went crazy, giving me alerts that my regenerative braking and traction control were disabled, as well as my flashers were on and my lights. Everything was just kind of blah, blah, blah. I kind of thought I had screwed something up, but then it kind of fixed itself. See, I found out I forgot to plug in one of the wires, thinking it was for the camera. I am colorblind, so this is not uncommon for me to do something like this. Anyway, I started the car, let it sleep, because I was told by Brian that once he let his car sleep and it woke back up again, things were kind of fixed. So same thing happened for me. So once the car woke up, all the alerts were gone and everything was working fine. I will point out here that you should first power off your system before you begin. You do this by going into the settings. I had done this originally, but when you hit the brake, even if you just barely tap it, it turns the car back on. And I must have bumped it somewhere, because when I actually did the swap, the car was on. Double check that if you're doing this yourself to make sure that you have actually powered off the car, or at least the computer brain part of it. After that, it was just a matter of tucking in the wires and putting all the panels back the same way they came off. Now let's take a look at what's on the actual screen itself. The system can be a little confusing at first until you start to realize really what it's doing. This is the screen it fires up with, and it looks quite beautiful. Across the top, you have all your indicators like blinkers, lights, seat belts, etc. On the bottom, you have the battery percentage, outside temp, what gear you are in, range, and odometer. In the center on the left, you have your speedometer, which I think looks awesome. It also has the range displayed there and what gear you are in. In the center, you have your car with road line animations, which is a nice touch, and this time a digital speedometer. So when I say line animations, if you're going forward, it makes the lines look like you're going forward. If you put it in reverse, it makes it look like you're actually going in reverse. It's not in any way geared to the actual speed of the car. You can see here at 0 miles per hour that it shows we're going forward, but it is a nice little touch to add some excitement to the screen. On the right is your HP dial, but I'm not sure exactly how that one works. It stands for horsepower, I assume, but more on that later. It also shows the motor temperature in that gauge. The first thing that stood out was the repetition of information. On this screen alone, you see your range in miles displayed in 2 places and range of percentage in another. So 3 places it tells you on just this one screen here the amount of range you have. You also see what gear you are in 2 different places. But at second glance, this all starts to make a little more sense when you start removing instrument clusters and you start customizing the screen a little bit. On the left side, you can tap that gray transparent circle and remove any or all of the instruments around the center car. So if you remove the speedometer, you would need the speed and gear displayed in the center. So I can see why they did it like that. It would be nice to have one of them disappear when the other one comes on the screen, just so it wasn't so cluttered with the same information, but maybe we'll see that in a future update. The left speedometer is replaced with all your additional options such as CarPlay, applications, settings, and navigation. The right is replaced with a clock and tire pressure. I've actually found this is my chosen display. I really like this. Clicking on the applications brings up the current apps installed. You'll probably recognize most of these. When I tried these out though, I couldn't get them to pull up anything, so I would imagine in future updates these apps will be more completed. I mean, they open, but like the maps didn't load and it just seemed like no data was actually being pulled to them, like it wasn't on the internet, even though I was connected to Wi-Fi and to my phone. Settings allows you to connect to your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth with your phone for CarPlay, as well as change things like font and setting time. There's also other settings on there that we can go through another time if you're interested. Once you connect your phone via Bluetooth, you get to use CarPlay. And this is one of the #1 reasons I think people are gonna buy this and why I would buy this myself had it not been sent to me. Here you get all the benefits of CarPlay and can control this from your phone and the steering wheel. You have the Waze app, which looks and works great. Your phone battery status is displayed up there as well as the reception. On the bottom left is a button you can select to access your CarPlay apps. You can also swipe the screen to go between displays as well. And you can also do this by clicking through with the wheel on the steering wheel, which I'll show you guys here shortly. I tried out in putting an address into my phone in the Waze app, and it sent it right over to the new screen. It displayed the actual navigation on the screen and then displayed the turn-by-turn list on my phone, which I thought was pretty cool with that phone mount sitting there right next to it. You have other apps like PlugShare, which is great for when you are taking, long trips and want to put in custom charging stops and take a deeper involvement in your charging route. Some people argue that it's actually more accurate than the built-in route for what your car actually can do, how it needs to handle it. You just get more customization with it. You have Pandora and all the default iPhone apps such as the news and podcasts. You can view the split screen option with a swipe again and view all your non-Apple apps. I like how they added the Libby app since I listen to a lot of audiobooks. when Hancho asked me what apps I thought should be on this, I said Waze, which was funny that they didn't hear about it. I wonder if they even have it there. And the second one was the Libby app. I think those two apps are a big deal for me, so I hope you guys all want them. You're probably thinking about this time that, man, this guy's sure tapping a lot on the screen while driving. This is going to make a lot of distraction. But you can do all this and control all of this right here from your steering wheel without touching the screen at all. Well, mostly. You have the ability to turn the screen completely off if you don't want it on with just a quick tap on either on the screen or using the scroll wheel. And then you can turn it right back on again by just simply tapping the screen. You can do this while you're driving. It's really awesome. So now I will continue to show you guys more of the functions as I spend more time with it and as I get more things connected and get it all kind of figured out. But for now, let's go out there and take a little drive. Right away, I noticed it is placed and sized exactly the way I want it. It doesn't obstruct my vision at all. I'm 6'1" and I don't see it at all above the steering wheel. It's right the way I want it. It's not in my vision of my windshield. When I look down, I see the top of my steering wheel like I'm used to seeing, then I see my dash, and then I see out my windshield. So none of that is changed, which is great. It really feels a lot like my normal car does when I'm driving it, with a little instrument cluster right in the middle of my steering wheel. Now, I mounted this camera literally an inch from my face so you all could get a nice view of what I actually see. Now, I'm risking my life here, so you'd better go hit that like button. I'm just kidding, but seriously, it takes no effort. Hit the like button. It felt very similar to my other car gear clusters. So as far as size, position, location, all that, definitely check mark approval. Awesome job there. I didn't think I would care about the speedometer being in front of me since I was very used to it on the big screen. But as soon as I took off, I was reminded of how much I like it right in front of me. Is it worth buying it for this reason? No, of course not, but I'm glad it's there. The speedometer on the left side is fine, but at my height, part of it was just covered by the wheel. I could only see like the bottom quarter of it, so I'll probably keep that as CarPlay or something else. I don't really know yet. I did find it kind of odd they kept the blinkers showing on the screen at all times and then they just simply blink when you actually hit the indicator. It would be cleaner if they kept them completely off, just like black, until you actually needed them, and then when you turned one of them on, then you would actually see it on the screen. However, like I mentioned, they do give you the option to remove it, so if that was annoying you, you could just make it go away. Now let's jump in live here to me in the car to talk about how to actually use that right scroll wheel while you're driving to control the screen. You can scroll it. So you watch this left thing here, so you screen, and right there, so right click this way would actually activate this. So I can turn the screen off just like that. Tap it again, turns it back on. I can roll it like this to navigation, application, so I can just tap this right here, and I can select different ones. You can see it's letting me select different ones right here, and again, to open them, you just pull to the right. Pull to the left is go back. So right now, I'm not taking my hands off the wheel at all. It's even safer, technically, than coming over here to type something in or using a phone. I'm doing it all here with just this wheel on the screen. Now, I did find that when you are in autopilot, you cannot use the scroll wheel to control the screen since the wheel needs to be there to adjust speed and distance. But this is okay because if you need to, you can just reach up and tap the screen. I mean, tapping the screen isn't something new to the Tesla. The whole entire right screen is tappable and people tap it. It's just this one's right in front of your steering wheel, so it's a little bit more awkward, but again, you're only doing that when you're in autopilot, so if you're gonna reach and touch a screen, you're better off to do it in autopilot than not, and the wheel controls it when you're not in autopilot. So anyway, it works. So I will continue to learn more about the capabilities and restrictions as I use this car over the next few weeks, but for now, it made a pretty good first impression. We'll have to see what my wife thinks about it.
I like it.
Currently, these are selling for $669 to $813 plus tax, depending on what options you actually choose. You can choose to add the backup camera, right side, left side of your car, that sort of thing. Be sure to check out the description for the link and my discount. I think it's 15% right now, so make sure you check on that. So over the next few months, I'll be looking for a couple answers to a couple questions, which are, does this add something to the driving experience? Is it actually worth the money? It is an investment, no doubt about it. And what changes will future software updates actually make? And how often can we expect updates? Or is this something they're going to basically sell and then what you get is what you got? It'd be pretty cool if they continue to do what they're doing now. They already told me that next week they got a new update they're pushing out with some different changes. So if they continue to do that, this could be a pretty cool deal. And it's also something we Tesla drivers have come to expect with our Teslas. Well, that's it for now. Give me a thumbs up and drop a comment on what you think of this screen so far, and I'll see you on the next one.